Wonderful. Cal, do you want to get the slide up? Great. Thank you, Aaron. Next opening reader, be here soon. But any questions on anything? Go ahead and get started. Let some folks in. Great. All right, we will get started. Hello, hello. Welcome. We will be getting started in just a minute. Our ASL interpreter is here and it can be pinned to the screen. Go ahead and do that. If you are looking for captions, you can find those at the top of the screen next to the live portion. Clicking that arrow, it will give you a live transcript that will read on your computer as well. Yes, wonderful to see folks here. Excited to have you. Excited for our reading tonight with wonderful, wonderful people. And we will have some access documents for everyone in the chat as well. So you will be able to follow along with the poems tonight. Hopefully you're having some autumnal weather. So get to bust that word out now that it's actually fall/autumn. But hopefully it is nice wherever you are and manageable. It snowed here, which was unexpected and interesting, but Arkansas got snow. Yeah. All right. Well, we have a fair amount of folks joining us, so I will go ahead and we can just get started reading a little bit about who we are before we get into our readings. So my name is CD, and this is Open Mouth Literary Center, and I'm going to just read from this About document that Shalini has just put into the chat. So we're Open Mouth Literary Center, which is a nonprofit literary organization based in Fayetteville, Arkansas. We host a monthly poetry reading and workshop with our visiting writers, as well as an annual retreat and festival and a residency with local writers. Our goal is to create community by bringing local poets and poetry lovers into contact and fostering connections between writers. At each of our readings, like this one, we have an opening round of community readers who read a single poem each, or that they've written, or one that they love by another poet. Slots for this evening are full, but we are always excited to have new opening readers, so let us know if you'd like to read at a future event. If you're interested in doing so, you can fill out this form that we'll put into the chat. You can also get more information about our future events on our website, where you can also sign up for our newsletter, where we announce events like this one and other workshops. We also post about our events on social media, so Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We pay all of our featured readers. We've taken steps to increase accessibility for our events by reading an access statement, which we'll do so in a second, providing documents in ASL interpretation, capturing recordings, and using image descriptions on social media. Though these services greatly increase our workload and our expenses, we want to also ensure there are no cost barriers or access barriers to our events. So we invite attendees to pay what they can for these services. This is the way that we can keep continuing to do this work, is through community support. So you can sustain this work by signing up to give regularly on our Patreon, donating at the link on our website, and by continuing to come to our events. Very excited folks are here today. You can also make a one-time donation on PayPal if you'd like to do that. But thank you for helping to ensure that these events can be accessible, that we can offer programs that are accessible. And on that topic, our intern Cal is going to talk a bit about accessibility.
Hi, I'm Cal. I'm the outreach intern for this semester at Open Mouth, and it's been really, really lovely working with this organization. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about our accessibility statement and policies, which the link to which is in the chat. So if you want to follow along on paper, you can follow along. So we've been making to work our programs more accessible for this online format. We are taking the step of highlighting access features on Zoom, providing an ASL interpreter for our monthly readings and workshops, as well as collecting and offering visual aid materials. We've also completed a course with an accessibility consultant to better understand and apply the principles of universal design. We are very excited about the accessibility that online events provide. Because of this format, we are able to reach people who might not otherwise be able to make our events because of everything from distance to immune issues to physical access barriers. Even when we return to an in-person format, we will follow guidelines put forth by immunocompromised and high-risk people to ensure events are as safe as possible. So tonight, here's what you can do to help us ensure that this space remains accessible. Please mute your microphone when you are not speaking to help cut down on distractions and background noise. Be aware if you're taking up a lot of space and try to make room for everyone, or use the raise hand feature or post in the chat if you want to say something. Try to speak slowly and clearly for others to hear you and for the ASL interpreter to follow. Use the slow down or backward arrows button in the Zoom reactions if things are moving too fast. Be aware that people may have different levels of comfort speaking and interacting in the space, and allow everyone to participate on their own terms. If you feel comfortable, share your pronouns by editing your name to include them. Please give a content warning if what you are about to share might cause someone else discomfort. Remember that this space is yours to use respectfully as you need. You are free to turn off your camera, use the chat function, or make requests as you need to. And do look for links to access copies of everything we're doing tonight in the chat. Thank you so much. I'm really excited for the reading.
Thank you, and welcome to folks who are just coming in, just going over some access material, and we are about to start the opening readings. And first up for tonight, and that document will be in the chat if you want to follow along. Our first opening reader is S.G. Huerta.
Hi, yeah, super excited to be reading with y'all. Thank you. Have a little sort of prose poem that I wrote over the summer. Content warning for animal death and alcoholism. Nothing too graphic, but it's called "I Do Not Know How to Be a Good Brother." My first year of college, I took a short notice flight across Texas. My brother was having a moment. I knew those moments in me, him, our dad. I drank a bottle of wine on an empty stomach the night before, blacked out, got on the plane drunk, threw up in my half sleep, wiped vomit off my leggings in the turbulence-enhanced bathroom. I did not fly for my brother, but for me, my image, loving sister. I was a month away from 18. Everything was for me. Our dad is dead now. I don't know why I can't empathize with my oldest sibling, not even in a poem. I cannot do it unless we're crying on the ground in the middle of a cemetery. I can't stop seeing his 2 goldfish, dead, floating, little ghosts in the too small bowl 2 days after he left for Mexico. He promised a quarter a day for Kid Me to keep those fish alive. That summer, he did not leave the proper equipment. I lied on the phone, said they were fine. I'm sorry for it now. I am selfish at heart, the way our upbringing forced us to be. I only have one brother. He doesn't even know my name. Thank you.
Thank you so much, SG. I really like the repetition and the sort of conversational quality that you're able to bring to to this prose poem, which I think is actually kind of hard with the form. So that was really good to be able to hear and to hear in your voice. Our next poem, if I'm not sure if Ojo made it or Ojo. Okay, so it looks like maybe not. We might be able to circle back to them if they show up in a bit. But until then, our next opening reader is going to be Stuti.
Hi, thank you all so much for having me. This poem is called Small Fish, and content warning for some violence, but it's not too visceral. Small fish. Men tend to love me because they think I understand their violence and can heal it. What many don't know yet is I have the same devil in me. Once a white boy I was only friends with admitted he hated hunting, couldn't shoot a mouse. He said this to me tenderly in a garden on what he hoped was a date. He watched me climb a graffiti wall, cautious and afraid I would fall. He was ashamed to admit to me that he used to throw small fish against the surface of the water to kill. I wanted to hate him for how he thought he could hide violence from me. To show him the blood I have shed, my own first and those of the ghosts of whom I ask forgiveness. To trade battle stories, both a victory and a confession. My wars happened on a different dimension because born in this one, both Asian and woman, I wasn't allowed to fight. I taped up my fist just to punch the air. My rage grows in the dark like mushrooms sporing. It has been both my death and my life. I'll never stop saying sorry. I'm happy to say I'm finally forgiven. I see the proof in new gentlenesses. A trail of forget-me-nots, a lavender blunt, a rice cake wrapped in foil, discussion uncomplicated about how good ice cream is. I thank the violence and the gentleness. In their aftermath is only a flower bed where I can fall free.
Thank you so much for reading this poem. It's so wonderful to hear it out loud. Like you have, like someone had mentioned it, like the internal rhyme, like wall and fall, and there's just so much great sound work, even at the end, fall free. It's just that coupled with the images you have are just beautiful and devastating at the same time. So thank you for sharing this poem. It's wonderful to hear you read it. Our next opening reader is Joaquin Gavellano.
Hey, can y'all hear me? Yeah, okay. This is a poem I wrote called Lemonade for Lunch. Yellow and green fruit carcasses laying atop the kitchen counter, massacred. You pick up the round delicacy, place it in the squeezer. Juice trickles down into the glass jar, sits at the bottom awaiting instructions. Your 8-year-old hands reach towards the cabinet, hug the large plastic cylinder, whisper the words written slowly under your breath, azúcar. It's ready. Sugar rains from the scoop. In goes another cup of sweetness. Start stirring with that long Celeste plastic spoon, the one used to smack you in the head when you misbehave. Impish child, was it not enough? You slowly stir in the water, lemon juice and sugar rising. Take a sip, not sweet enough. But it's never sweet enough for you. You reach for the measuring cup, gather more of that crystallized sweetness. Full scoop into the jar, they won't like it, it's not good enough. 2 scoops, 3 scoops, you stop counting after 5 and the water can't take it anymore. You can't take it anymore. You keep stirring the spoon, faster, faster. Can the waters that diluted the sugars dilute the voices inside your head, manifesting, you aren't good enough? And now you're screaming as you stir, you topple the jar. It hits the floor, shards of glass fly across the room. The yellow-green sugary concoction is everywhere. Look at the mess you've made. You take a deep breath, pick up the big shards, sweep away. 8-year-old perfectionist fingers bleeding. Grab a new fresh citrusy fruit, and now a plastic jar. Una vez más.
Wow. Thank you, Joaquin. That was really great. And it was really great in your voice to, I don't know, to hear the stakes rising slowly throughout the poem. That was cool. And I love the way that you're able to incorporate like Spanish in a way that is both feels like very true to the person that I know you are, and also is like extremely accessible and like comfortable. Also, I just love the phrase "una vez más." Anyways, our next reader is Kate Stoltzfus. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. Had some issues with the Zoom setup, but all is good now. Thank you so much for having me. And it's great to be reading in such wonderful company. I'm going to be reading a poem called Stick Poke. We realize the pot of ink is dry after we sterilize the needle. I want her fingers to stamp me permanent with the same dot she pressed above her knuckles. I want an excuse for her fingers to hold mine while she teases the skin, a tempered science of hot pin and black smudge. No name for love yet, just a sense the heart she has curled into her inner elbow is a beat I can feel, a visible root of blood and muscle brought to life. My first tattoo took 5 minutes, drawn from a bench in a town that grew me, to the stars through rugged ways. Soon she'll leave for a boy she just met, but not before they show me the birds they traced above their elbows, still glistening. My arm stays clean. Still, her mark won't leave me, my own wild heart. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this poem. I love how subtle it is, and then how obvious it is at the same time, if that makes sense. Just there's so much longing in it that's just done so perfectly. I always wish that poets would write more tattoo poems. I just think there's just so much to say there. And this is really wonderful. Yeah, just there's so many great phrases. Tempered science of hot pin and black smudge is just a really lovely sounding line. And so much of this, yeah, just sounds really great. Thank you for sharing the poem. I believe did Ojo ever make it? Just see, I don't know if anyone else came back in, but if not, we can move on to our first featured reader for tonight. So going to have Ashio is going to go first. So I'll just go ahead and read their bio. And we'll put the featured poets poems in the chat in order so you can follow along. So Ashia Ajani is an award-winning Black storyteller, soul child of Denver, Colorado, Queen City of the Plains, and the unceded territory of the Cheyenne, Ute, Arapaho, and Comanche peoples. They are an environmental educator with Mycelium Youth Network and the poetry editor of the Hopper Literary Magazine. Ajani has received fellowships and the support from Tin House, The Watering Hole, Just Buffalo Literary Center. Their words have been featured in Atmos, Apogee Lit, Sierra Magazine, Hen Pen Review, and Michigan Quarterly Review, among others. Follow their journey online. Their socials are also, we'll put those in the chat as well. Ashani's book is also coming out April 2023, called Heirloom from Right Bloody Publishing. Definitely check that out. But without further ado, Ashia Ajani.
Hi all, thank you so much for having me. It's so great to reconnect with CD. We did Winter Tangerine like forever ago. It feels like everything pre-pandemic feels like forever ago, but it's so dope to be in this space with you all. So thank you very much for having me. This first poem that I'm going to read is going to be from my forthcoming collection, Heirloom, and it is called Landfill. In the morning, the ghosts are listless. The world goes quiet without preamble, so I pray to all the gods who look like me and to the ones who don't. Even the faceless deities have a place here. Grocery bags fossilized into quilt, cough drop wrappers, a tooth, all organs built of silicone and rupture. A menstrual cup that I pretended to use for 3 years prior croons its tongueless lullaby alongside saran-wrapped stained auburn with turmeric and grease, carved out belly fat, neon razors, bloody underwear, a pinch of his pubic hair, acrylic nails compete with bits of skin and cartilage. And I ask, how do you save smoke? Testament to ancestors worn and discarded like scraps of cloth, headless baby doll and 12 used condoms, broken brassieres that remind me of my ex-girlfriend. God knows how many broken combs, brushes, picks pluck permanence in this brown-green slime. Prescription pill bottles my mother says not to dispose of this way. Nothing dies here. That is the purpose of stuffing a landscape full of rubbish. Objects are only relevant in terms of their circulation. Everything has an origin, and maybe that doesn't mean as much as we would like it to mean. Bear witness to the eternal decay. So this next one is called Nameless. So my name is Ashia. Lots of vowels. Confuses a lot of people. And so whenever I go to coffee shops, I get like a new reiteration of my name. And so this poem came forth from looking at all the different ways that people were envisioning spelling, thinking about my name. At coffee shops, I take on a new baptism. I just want my cold brew. The jumbled pieces of genealogy settle into old dust. Seeds knocked from my braids long, long ago. My ancestry choking on seawater. Lost, phonetically abandoned. Softened cheekbones facing eastward, always. Anytime some variation of my name is uttered, a dead slave rises from behind my ear and pinches the skin red. At the border between Zambia and South Africa, fresh. Someone pronounces my name correctly for the first time. All that is left in the space bounded by home and history is longing. The hyphen between African American, superimposed identity. I surrender a piece of my body every time I am asked to place root. Interesting enough to inquire. All the mistakes of the Atlantic reside on my face, nameless. I'm sorry. I don't have any clean answers for you. I think the blackest thing about me are my eyes. Bless how they were taught to keep moving, to seek truth, to always greet the dawn with devotion. So this next one is a little bit of a tracking of my family history. So my mom's side of the family originally from Pelahatchie, Mississippi. During the Great Migration, we moved up north, and then somehow my mom came out west to Colorado. And a lot of the things that influenced that migration was sharecropping or working in a factory. Well, in one, you actually have like some claim to land. The other, you have no land, and you get more money, but you end up having emphysema, heart disease, skin problems. So this is just like a poem of me reckoning with like all of the horrible choices that my family has had to make. I was dealing with a lot of grief because I've had a lot of family members who have passed from cancers that were, again, you know, causation or correlation, not causation, but were very much caused by working in these industries. And so this was a poem, I guess, kind of working through a lot of the sadness that I was feeling as many of my family members were being diagnosed with these illnesses. It's called Life Cycle. America is a factory. My father builds security cameras from discarded junk phones, their cracked screens, a subterranean stained glass burgeoning blessings. Come one, come all if you dare. He welds a fine line between surveillance and security. My father is no stranger to a gun. My father believes in a self-proclaimed rapture. The hills have eyes. My father's lenses thicken as his vision defers. At the end of the world, he hopes to patent his despair. America is a landfill, underwater bloodline brined, it's soured. My neighbor pours the leftover liquid from a pot of greens into his garden. Billowing green stink arises, stains room for ripening. Black folks despise waste. The last drops of Crown Peach in the dog's water bowl for taste. The plastic bags under my auntie's kitchen cabinets, exceptional cushioning for our endangered shadows, never afforded the softness of packing peanuts. Is the soul biodegradable? Can it be upcycled? At least we still have Granny's house. Wrap your apparitions in polyester coves, send them out to ocean. May they forever exist in sedimentary purgatory floating on. In this sense, we never rest. In this sense, pollution profits. And won't these white folks come and pick up the damn trash? America is a false idol, all my people iconoclasts. Look out the window at all of that. God damn, what is he protecting? Ain't nothing here ours but scraps of metal, melted all down, why don't you? Some homes are worth less than their copper pipes, this metallic stew pot boiling over. My ancestors bartered their gold teeth for green, earned heart disease and curdled cream dreams instead as the planet warms another degree. Mama says my degree won't save me. Suppose cash really does rule everything around me. I wonder what rich bones can broth a new vanguard. Nigga, can I get a witness? America is a malignant tumor. Oh, how I long to capitalize this intrusion in our collective heartbeat, beating away at the floorboards of good sense until the spirits rattle around pushing daisies, memory stinging nettle unsilenced. Watch the good earth reclaim clunkers for cash. Nostalgia makes a mockery of present. The open-faced sores on my uncle's knuckles, a tribute to this nation's success. I won't bullshit you. He reeks of burnt sienna and ember. It all reeks of pirated pyrite, fool's gold. I talk too much about my grandmother's hands because they threshed this country. Great migration granny, built Ford tough, a gorgeous ghost gnarled into graphics. Look closely. You can see flakes of calluses soldered to your car's lithium battery. I talk too much about my grandmother's hands because they became cracked by bleach, ammonia, everything meant to whiten and purge bacteria. She passed down her genealogy of anguish, lead-hardened blood, black lung coughing up embattled blues. Wasn't the Tin Man once chopping through scorched earth too? My gut is filled with vengeful microorganisms. Today and every day beyond grief, I throw my grease against any surface in need of shine. America, define yourself a country exactly. My offering, a knotted bellyache of sadness born beyond a destined horizon manifested. The embers of our lost selves tumbling across the West Coast. Even the mountains seem to collapse with sadness. The spine of the uninherited earth curves like that of a funeral wailer. An assembly line aggravating access. All that rust corroding our good sense. Riddle me this. How can I be well when my lawn is always burning? Cool. So this next one is a little bit, it's very different than the one that I just read. I love worms. I love all like creepy crawlies. I love snails. I love spiders. I love worms. I've always wondered what it would be like to like live as a worm. Like your entire body is like, has taste buds on it. Like that's wild. Oh my gosh. So this is a poem about worms. A body can be a prison if you let it. Fanon calls a puddle an ecosystem, minutes before a boot disperses its wet contents. Split tongues emerge from the fragments, eager to taste what lingers on the soul. Power is the difference. This is a food chain after all, begging us to spend sustenance from infrequent dewdrops. Dark continents fall from our hips, waiting to be caged once the dust settles. Small pond, small body. It must be so heartbreaking to see yourself reflected in every iris that passes you over. A well of emotion, motionless till the heat of summer evaporates you into the invisible everythingness that surrounds us all. Just as the dehydrated hips of hibiscus widen when met with moisture, so too shall you unfold past short-lived habitats. Change is coming in the form of condensation. In the ancient sludge of existence, you disperse endlessly. All right, I have two more. This next one is who loves queer love? Queer love is just like transformative. It's great. It's like life-changing. I don't like this person that this poem is about, but I respect them for the joy that they brought into my life, and the whole world that it opens up for me. So while we no longer speak, I perform this poem a lot because I am very like appreciative of them, of all the things that they brought into my life. So it's called Abstraction. A dialect unknown to my ears, but locked away in my soul, makes itself known every time your lips brush against my skin. There is you, and there is peace. There's something about brown eyes that make them unforgettable. Something about brown skin that makes you think of home and all the treasures you have lost, and the ones that must and should and will be reclaimed. In this bed, we speak the idioms of Nahuatl and Ocean, our hearts unbridled by the burden of language, making space for our tongue to engage in more urgent matters. The only sounds that emerge cannot be uttered in good company. My body gasping, I need you to love me a little louder. I need you to love me with your hands. I need you to love the parts this narrow white world cannot make room to comprehend. Our stories are caught between missionaries' church containing the wildness of our spirits, how they beat the native savages to cleanse the pure soul trapped under all of that primitive lust, our own internalized shame creeping from the belly of forgotten history. We are but products of our environment, but here, we are witnesses to our own abstraction. What pieces of art can be made from the entanglement of limbs? Let me show you how these hips move like watercolor, how my teeth shine like marble under a derobed sky, the eyes soften like fertile soil. A part of me has walked this land before, has known its ridges and flaws without pause or remorse. Those who wish to murder the past ask that we wear our shadows lightly, but the hell that rattles in our vocal cords demands attention, demands that we return home to the flesh, coaxing our souls into soft bloom. Tell me, what is more beautiful than a brown body in the aftershock of climax? The earth's motion ruptures every time you dare utter your pleasure. Marvel at how it spills from your throat like sugar cane. Baby, our colonial pasts comfort each other's trickle-down legacies. Our ancestral sorrow runs through our veins like sludge. All we know is take, is take, is take, but here we are, you and I, folding back into the joy our forebears knew unapologetically. And doesn't it feel good to be loved like this? Before rejecting beauty, before despising the body, before the binaries told us we couldn't exist, and needing the folds in celebration of my nappy hair and your tall brown body. Every time our honeyed middles intertwine, it is a big middle finger to the powers that want us to pretend we know nothing of the magic that lingers in our flesh. Every time our lips touch, it is a song calling back to homelands buried deep beneath the industrial concrete, and can't you hear the foundation shake? We, sites of both promise and ruin, can't you hear Atabe weep tears of yucca and joy at our most glorious creation? Cool. I love to, every time I do like a reading, I love to like throw in a little love poem in there, because I feel like I do like a lot of climate work. I do a lot of environmental work. So a lot of my work is like very doom and gloom. But then I remember, what am I living for? Love, love, sex, friendship, like all of them good things that make life worth living. So I love love. And thank you for listening to how much I love love. This last poem, yes, and thank you for having me. This has been so great. I love virtual meetings, and I can't wait to hear Dr. Banaz's work soon as well. That's gonna be so cool. But this last poem is about Fannie Lou Hamer, and it is inspired by this quote of hers. I keep a shotgun in every corner of my bedroom, and the first cracker even looks like he want to throw some dynamite on my porch. Won't write his mama again. I keep a piece of myself on the porch. Don't test me. I've had everything ripped from my flesh and still fix my gum to smile at those who wish me harm. Don't try it. I am a nigga who comes from niggas, and as such, I do not play. This body owns nothing, exists everywhere. You can't kill me. All the fullness in the world collides within my frame. A grand unraveling weathers me mighty vengeful. Can you say the same? My love shatters anything that has tried to cause me harm. Ceremony predates survival, so leave my flowers at the doorstep and dance until your heart bursts into 1,000 new iterations of godliness. Fill my cup with lilac wine where one can pull a Nina croon through the window until a swan song of rage fills the walls and covers me in honeysuckle rose. Give me all that I desire or nothing at all. I want a new wig. I want a plot of land. I want a small wind that carries me through the rest of forever. I am owed at least that. Thank you so much, CD. Thank you, everybody, for listening, engaging. My book is out next year, April 18th, 2023. In the meantime, you can visit my website, ashiajani.com. I'm on the socials, Instagram and Twitter. Twitter, I don't know how long, but like, they're both Ashia and Bloom. So thank you so much for listening. And yeah, I'm excited to hear some other poems.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
That was spectacular. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I want a small wind that carries me through the rest of forever. Yeah, it's really amazing. Thank you. Callie, you can go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to say really quick that I think that you should not be concerned about like needing to insert love poems like separately, because I think you do something so amazing, which is to make really like political poems really intimate and really about like the personal, but in a way that does not reduce them to anything less than they are. So thank you so much for sharing those. That was lovely. I'm really excited for Banna's poems, and I'm going to go ahead and read Banna's bio really quick, and then we'll get started with Zur poems. Dr. Banna El-Gadbanna is a Syrian poet raised in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Z is a professor of comparative women's studies at Spelman College, where Zur research focuses on Syrian women's creativity under authoritarianism and Zionist violence. La Sirena, Visions of a Syrian Mermaid from Space, from Zank Books, is their first poetry book. Their next book, Homegirls, Hashish, and the Moon, is forthcoming with Everybody Press in fall 2023. Z is published in Mizna, the Women's Review of Books, Afghan Punk Magazine, and others. I'll turn it over to you, Banna. Thank you.
Yay! Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here. Oh my gosh, Ashia, those were amazing poems, and I'm so grateful that we heard them. And thank you for everyone who shared. I am OM Literary's #1 fan, so not that there's a hierarchy of fans, but I just love you guys. And I love how accessible you are, so I'm so excited to do this with you. So the first poem is called Ereshkigal. Ereshkigal is the Babylonian goddess of the underworld. And I wrote this because my mom, who's here, she she's always encouraged my poetry, and she's a poet. And one time she gave me this poetry book, and I just felt this like destructive urge inside of me, and I ripped it apart with my bare hands, like threw it in the trash can. And it made me and then I felt super ashamed, like, why did I do that? And it made me realize, like, because I had such a deep yearning for publishing my own book. And my jealousy was actually like not this, dissociated evil part of me, but actually the wisdom in me that was going to lead me to my dreams. So I had to listen instead of just ignore it and be like, oh, that's negative, or that's a bad part of me. It was the part of me that led to my liberation, I feel like. So Ereshkigal. She escapes the path of nutmeg and sterile kisses. She begins to examine her liver and ask if she ever even lived at all. She becomes ravenous and jealous. She eats the grass and rubs clovers on her teeth. She hungers for Sheba's dresses and Zenobia's sea. She yearns for anoxic colors, neon and phosphorus, all bent out of shape. She drinks from the Nile. Her hair becomes a nest of wasps and her fingers, baby scorpions. She grows a rattlesnake tail and her torso is an unsteady rainbow. She waters her bougainvillea with the blood of the patriarchs who made her sisters go missing. She haunts the prison cells and stands behind the imprisoned people listening. She burns her fires, fragrant and savory to touch, a secret explosion. The police cars are all skeletons and no one knows how it happened. And when she is done, she sinks into the creek again like a cobra, coiled, and dreams of the dawn. Thank you. Give me 1 second. Okay. To whom it may concern. This is like, I'm in my first year as a professor and I have to write all these, whatever, justifying like when people give me money, what I did with the money. So to whom it may concern. My research on God is going well. With your fellowship money, I chased butterflies and found a correlation between hummingbirds and grief. I was able to connect with the microbes in the soil, which I found mirrored the cells in my own body. I chose a mixed methods research plan involving breathing next to plants and bathing naked in the sea. Using a sophisticated tracking software, my fingers, I quantitatively measured God in the reoccurring appearance of 417 different ladybugs in my periphery over a 6-month period. I held focus groups with neighborhood cats, and they gave me in-depth insight into the socio-political climate for stray cats adjusting to climate change. I used your family's neoliberal pity endowment fund to analyze my own symbiotic relationship with the beings I've harmed, in particular, the trees from the paper it took to write this. This enabled me to analyze the correlation between colonial violence and my own disassociation. I concluded my spirit is better off with an active flesh subjectivity and not displaced in the stars. I also concluded that rivers are meant for sunbathing by, and nature loves being woven into cities through cracks in the concrete, which contradicted but also supported my hypothesis that colonial violence displaces us from our bodies. Instead, I realized we can thrive anywhere and will make life bloom under conditions of unthinkable violence. I found God, occasionally, in between these realizations. My hybrid approach to data collection allowed me to fill existing gaps in the thin line between spirit and flesh. In short, because my results are inconclusive, I will need several lifetimes of your fellowship money to pursue more answers. Kindly, La Sirena. Okay, this next one is a rant about race, space, mermaids, the ocean, all kinds of stuff. I'm watching this documentary about the pyrotechnic artist Kai Guo-Qiang, a magician of the most dangerous kind, a knower of fire. The atmosphere is his canvas. He engineers beautiful explosions and expertly picks the softest, most combustible things to explode. He weaves patterns out of fire in the sky. He says, "This is where I want to create a ladder to connect the earth to the universe. In the same way that Christians try to get closer to God, we are going to build a ladder out of fire that connects this town to outer space. We live on a planet among billions of other solar systems and a neighborhood of billions of other galaxies with humans who stare into the unknown and think, yes, we must be the only ones." The coral reef declared a major event to protest the warming waters. They expelled the algae living in their tissues. This is called coral bleaching. This shut down ocean cities into underwater ghost towns. The reef went from lush green algae to frozen skeleton bones, and 89% of the new coral has collapsed in the Great Barrier Reef. This is a stress signal that can be seen from space. The corals reached beyond our human animal intelligence to call out to their lunar in-betweener friends in space. One of my favorite teachers, Bahati, says that you can't ask the power system permission to protest. The coral bypassed the anthropocentric humans who explode fireworks into the atmosphere because our systems of racial capitalism and earth exploiting are the source of the problem. Instead, they reached out to those who can remember. It is a hopeful thing how we humans, even in designing our wildest visions for traveling to other worlds and communicating through explosions, combustions, nuclear disruptions, that we believe we are the brave ones making the bridge, calling out into the darkness. We build aeronautic, hero-centered mythologies of man, starring as the brave molecule propelled into space migration. I am writing today to confirm that the other side of deep space and the darkness are laughing at us. The night sky is an impossible infinity. We strive to prove that it is real, touchable, seeable, recordable, and not just an imaginary romance. Patriarchy and its brothers forced us to limit how we relate to our alternative dimensions because of logic and reason. Well, all of our ingenuity is clearly void of one thing. You don't have to crush a million metals together and electrocute elements into exhausting explosive emissions to confirm to yourself that there are parallel states of matter and incomprehensible worlds beyond our control. They build a whole theater of settler space frontier, Cold War fueled cultural imaginaries, all while heroically evading their own problems. It is all too connected for that. Or more succinctly, what Jill Scott Heron said when he said, no hot water, no toilets, no lights, but Whitey is on the moon. To those of us still in the shadow majority on Earth, we still have enough sense to measure our cycles and make meaning of our infinite universes by paying attention to the rhythms and dances of the sun, moon, and stars. Every diasporic space tribe scattered into lunar orbit knows that when you aren't limited by a programmed fear of darkness, you begin to pay attention more to the tugging at your heels. You look deeply into the self-destructive erosion that fear has wreaked on your soul. You know about the shapes and sounds of people whose imprints leave sighs in your ears and signs all around us. It's like there's the self-declared nomad who imagines he is just powerful enough to penetrate an inescapably vast and infinite potential darkness, just so he can take a selfie in his own mirror to prove to himself that yes, the shadow exists and is alive and breathing. And that is why we lunar in-betweeners are such amazing storytellers, because when we open our mouths to speak, a shadow jumps out. Our cycles of love, loss, illumination, pain, exile are a spectacle that they watch through space with shiny telescopes. They listen to our conversations and mine them for proof that we have a culture, because we speak the language of the earth and space, and we know how to talk with the tides and communicate with the coral and the comets, and we know we are one, because we feel impossibly alone and at once more aware than anyone of the vast universe of beings who move with us, guiding our journeys. We embody their fears and represent a subconscious panic, refugees, the darkness, the before. We are always frozen in time, bound to this ancient, forever violence in their eyes. How can you even speak when the words you say are consumed into a gaze? Where does the gaze begin and end? What does the storyteller do when Z is displaced, physically disabled, and yearning to ululate into the darkness so that the others will receive the vibration? How do I dissolve these clamps on my tongue? I use Sumerian tablets and Egyptian hieroglyphs to time travel. What medium is the most permanent in this context when everything slips out of our fingers at a rapid pace? How will I tell the story of how we survive to my people 3,000 years from now if it is not inscribed into clay or in pieces of jewelry embalmed by my prayers? While everything is moving so quickly and we are searching for community, our brains are being energetically rewired by these fluorescent worlds in our hands that dissolve our pineal glands. Writing is an embodiment exercise because one of the best things we can do is take time to slow down, breathe. Read the signs together, be present. And this movement actually imprints in our brain muscles and stimulates hopefully joy and sometimes rage, but mostly reassurance that we are indeed alive and here, and that that is a glorious thing. Because now you hear the sound waves emitting from me to you, right? Now they are real because they have been pressed into these internet wires and circulated for you to receive and dance into your own atmosphere with your thoughts and imaginings. I love Billie Holiday and Kulthum because the vibrations in their voices have healed generations by creating a feeling. Even the most numb uncle cannot unsway his head to the sound of their voices. And when we write and read and sing and sculpt, we create this multi-sensory bodily state where you're imagining all these things with me, like in this room, it's bright indigo and there are swaying plants covered in sunlight, and the sunlight looks like blue honey, but instead of a ladder, there's a rainbow, something less linear, more like an arc where we rest our tired irises. You and I and the corals are dancing in that way. Yay. The last one I'm going to read is In a Future Syria. So content warning, mention of a murder of a friend of mine. في سوريا المستقبل لن يكون رأي همسا. In a future Syria, my voice will not be a whisper. You wrote this line for me, sister. Then they came for you and slit your throat on a Friday afternoon when the sun was out. You kept speaking. You grabbed my hand and said, listen. I felt your voice vibrating from my tongue. I felt your soft whisper in the morning light, and you told me, speak up. What was that movement in the night? Where did we leave off? I heard a chorus of yellow birds singing, one day, one day, one day we'll return. To the sea, to Suria, ya Sirena, one day we will come. In a future Syria, we will be sister dancing, brown-eyed, brown-skinned, full of heaven on our tongues. In a future Syria, Hamza wa Hajar's dreams will burst forth from the sun. In a future Syria, we will greet each other with ouds and ancient lutes. In a future Syria, we will begin the day from the soil of our grandmother's roots. We will remember what we wrote on the fig leaves, the secrets we kept until we'd return. We will remember what we wrote on the leaflets our sisters threw from the university buildings and were tortured for. We will not forget the children, and the top priority on the political agenda will be their laughter. We will burn down the NGOs and make freedom schools out of paper plates, plant damask rose on the path, fill the streets with jacaranda trees, and throw lavender tissue paper out the windows in the breeze. And who could forget the jasmines? Our Constitution will be written from jasmines and coffee grinds, hung on every rooftop clothesline, and printed on our mirrors in music and calligraphy letters. Our right to return and reconciliation process will be implemented through 12-point drum circle plans and secured by Arabic chewing gum. Each person will be guaranteed silt of the Euphrates, pebbles from the Berada, and an all-access path to the cemeteries to see our loved ones. The temple of Jupiter will be re-sanctified and every explosion reversed. Every dead person will rise up from the soil once we water it a little bit. They will dance with us, making olive trees our only shelters from the storms. Thanks so much, everyone. And these are all in my new book, La Sirena, Visions of a Syrian Mermaid from Space.
My goodness. Thank you for reading all of those. I'm still blown away by the third one. That was an amazing piece, not only to read along with you, but to hear. That was just, I'm just awestruck still by your reading of that piece, where it went, and all of these, just the scope of myth and possibility that you render so vividly through just amazing uses of language. This form is incredibly effective. And I just thank you so much for reading with us. I'm so glad that you were able to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Please buy Bana's book. It will be linked in the chat. Shalini has put it. The cover is amazing. The book is amazing, and we're so glad that you read pieces from it. But thank you all so much for coming to hear both of these amazing poets. I'm so glad to be able to put you all in conversation. Seems like your work is talking about some similar things, which is really great to see. It's been wonderful to have you all here. Thank you. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Follow both these folks, see what they're doing in the future.